Wow, out of the gate, predictions on Survivor 50. I typically don't like giving predictions because I'm never right. In terms of who might be in trouble, I think it might be a new era player. I am going off nothing. I just felt the combined energy of some of those older era players this morning, and I felt a force, and I could be wrong, but it just felt like there was a lot of momentum. Not that they're going to team up together, but that they might want to send a signal very quickly, which is, I know you all young bucks think you're the thing. I was here before you were born. So that's what I think is probably going to happen. In terms of who could do well, here's the thing. When we put this cast together, every single person had to be a yes to this question. Do I want to hold up the parchment at the end of the season and say the winner of Survivor 50 is this person? That was a yes for every single person. So in my mind, anybody could win this game, and I'll be happy with whoever wins the game. The reason we have 24 players, honestly, is we could not get the list down to 20. It was so hard to get it down to 24. And so then it became a math issue because we only have 26 days. So you have to start figuring out how are you going to get rid of players. And then we had to do the fan vote to see what kind of game design they wanted. And fortunately, the thing that the fans wanted worked out with the things we hoped they wanted, and we have what we think is going to be a really fun, very unpredictable, and extremely dangerous, fast-moving season of Survivor. Putting together the group of players for Survivor 50, definitely the most difficult decision we've ever had to do. It started with some players have retired. People like Boston Rob and Parvati. We talked to Rob and he said, I don't want to play anymore and I want to give somebody else a shot. So that made one decision easy. Let's not have any winners from Survivor 40. They just played. We had some people who said no. I won't mention their names because they didn't want me to, but they said, we really appreciate the invite. I'm done with Survivor. And then we had Amanda, who everybody wanted back. We wanted her back. We asked her to play. She wanted to play, but it was a scheduling issue and she couldn't do it. So there was a lot that went into it in terms of who was available, who was interested. And then ultimately, you just have to start making cuts, and they're painful and brutal. And I don't want to talk about how close some people were because I think it would just make other people's feelings hurt. I can only say this with absolute sincerity. That was the most single difficult thing any of us have had to do. And we had many versions of casts put together with different people. And we would look at them and say, this would be really fun, or we could go this way. And we ultimately decided on this group, and I'm really happy with this group. I get really excited before Marooning. I do, because it's the culmination and the beginning of months and months of work by so many different people, so many departments. And it all comes down to this moment when this crazy thing happens. This game that typically we've designed, not this season, but you turn it over to the players. So think about 50 from our standpoint. We didn't design the game, the fans did. And then we just have to execute it by turning it over to the players. So we're sort of the middle people, in making this little triangle of creativity happen. So the night before Marooning for me is exciting. I'm typically thinking about the events of the morning, my job as a host, what are the opening words I might want to say, what are the questions I might want to ask, what kind of challenge do we have set up? And then as a producer, you're just hoping that everybody's ready to go, because the Marooning is the culmination of literally typically a year's worth of work by several hundred people to get us ready, to have these people roll up in a boat, get up, get in the sand, and then we say, welcome to Survivor. Here we go. Once the Marooning's over, I feel a huge sigh of relief because the game is out of our hands now. It's going. This is a 26-day nonstop game. When friends ask me, what do you do on your down days? There aren't down days. There aren't down minutes. This game is happening right now. I'm doing an interview right now with TVLine. They're out on the beach. Things are happening right now. It never stops, and that's exhilarating. So once the Marooning happens, we kick into full gear, which is here we go. Day 2, here we come. Returning player seasons are really fun. We love them because you're getting the best of the best. But the thing I think fans sometimes forget is you have to have new players in order to have new returning players. So that's why we took our time. We always thought 50 would be the first returning player season, and we felt good that we would have 9 seasons of a different era of gameplay. And then depending on which direction we ended up going, we would have options. It turned out we went all the way back to season 1 and then as recent as season 49, but we didn't know that at the time. But it takes some time to get new returning players ready. I use the word celebration for Survivor 50 because I just mean that. Let's celebrate this game. That doesn't mean it's not a hardcore game. And what I saw at the Marooning this morning were two things that really stood out. People want to have fun and they're going to play hard. And I think that's what you're going to see because I think the players on Survivor 50 realize there is a responsibility. We chose you. 751 people have played this game. We chose you. You better show up and deliver. So what I think it's going to be is some really fun, vicious, delicious Survivor. The person that I was most delighted and a bit surprised that said yes was Mike White. He actually called me a few years ago and said, look, if you end up doing something for 50, I'm like, 50? We're barely in the early 40s. He said, just know I want to play. Then White Lotus hits, and I thought, well, that'll never happen. Kept his word. And what's really fun about having Mike White out here is think about where he is in life. He's one of the most respected storytellers on earth. He could do anything he wants. He could be anywhere. He could be vacationing somewhere. And instead, he's out there right now, living on one of these islands in Fiji, probably about to get dumped on by a storm that's coming. And he's loving it because you can't get this anywhere else. This is different than writing and directing White Lotus. This is a life experience that takes Mike out of that and probably renews and refreshes a little bit for him. I don't want to tease anything about this season because of what we did, letting the fans vote. So I know the results, but the fans are going to find out at the same time the players do. Either it'll be a note in the jungle that says, hey, idols are in the game, or a note in the jungle that says, hey, idols aren't in the game, but only you know that. That's part of the fun of watching this season unfold.